City Council meeting tonight. I'd like to start off with the Pledge of Allegiance. Chris, you want to kick this off?
Please begin. I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Everybody miking up. All right, we'll start off with a roll call.
Councilmember Martirana?
Here.
Councilmember Bach?
Here.
Councilmember West?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Ed?
Here.
Mayor Lund?
Here.
Mayor Forum.
All right. I'm going to open up to public comment for items that are not on the agenda. If you'd like to come up and speak, we'll allow you 3 minutes. We can't take any action, but we can listen to what you have to say.
I have Rachel Ponsky.
Okay.
What I saw and heard at the special city council meeting last week compelled me to comment tonight. The defensive and arrogant attitude of the Hollister Fire Chief, city manager, and union representative were quite surprising. The fire chiefs and our own city councilman comment minimizing the fire and damage was shocking and embarrassing. I feel some of us residents have had a false sense of security. 24/7, firefighters and volunteers sounded real good. When the city began talks with Hollister to bring the firefighters to San Juan Bautista, the Hollister mayor and the fire chief stood here and assured us the San Juan Bautista Volunteer Fire Department would not be in jeopardy and would be considered equal as firefighters. A year later, there is no volunteer fire department. When asked why, the answer given by the fire chief was the volunteers did not want to commit to the rigorous training. The answer was quite disingenuous. No mention was ever made about the union restrictions. Was San Juan Bautista ever aware of the union restrictions? I see the volunteers would have been a tremendous help in the past fire. For one, getting the call of the grass fire, a volunteer being familiar with the area would have given the alert that grass fire would seriously threaten those homes sooner than later. And also, volunteers would know the shortest route to Franklin Circle. And maybe only one bedroom would have been lost, and the young mother of two very small children would not have had to fight the fire for her home alone. San Juan Bautista Volunteer Fire Department has always been serious and diligent in their training. Remember, if it's Thursday, fire volunteers would be training and the whole community knew it. San Juan Bautista Volunteer Fire Department has never thought of it as a social club. Sure, there was comradeship. They live here, they know one another, maybe friends, neighbors, or even related. As a multiple property owner, I was not assured after last week's meeting. Communication, trust, and mutual respect is what is needed. A San Juan Bautista resident fire committee would be helpful to give input, concerns, and recommendations to the city representatives to the fire committee. The city representatives are supposed to advocate for residents in contract negotiations with Hollister Fire Department and should be aware of the residents' concerns and needs. I encourage the council to form a San Juan Bautista Fire Committee. Thank you.
Great, thank you.
I don't have any other speaker cards.
Okay. Anybody else? Okay. All right, we'll move on to consent items. Oh,
Hello. So we will be brief. We will hit the 3 minutes. I just want to thank you all, Mayor, council members, for allowing this opportunity to occur. My name is Rosie Valdez. I'm the Assistant Director of Community Outreach for Suicide Prevention Service. And I just wanted to come with my colleague, Tony Mycroft, to talk about the fact that we have a service available for all San Juan Bautista individuals here in the community members, people who work in the community, and also for yourselves as well. So if we are allowed, if my colleague could come up and hand you one of our brochures and one of our pens, is that all right?
Sure.
All right. So basically, our suicide crisis line is available 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. It's free and it's confidential. And I think what's really wonderful about this service is that people do not have to be suicidal to call us. They can reach us for any reason. We can also speak to individuals who are concerned about someone else who may be going through a difficult time, and maybe even the individuals who work here in the community with at-risk populations can also have an ear that they can speak to when they are going through difficult times. So I want to let you all know that this service is free of charge. We do get callers from San Benito County, and we just want to make sure that all of you are aware of this. And also, as a community outreach director, I want to let you all know that we provide free presentations and trainings out in the community, from individuals in 7th grade on to college and even professional law enforcement, fire department trainings. We are trained in how to do mental health first aid, assist, and safe talk, which are 2 specific suicide prevention modules, and we also have our own training as well. I can speak for the 2 of us. We are bicultural and bilingual, so we are able to do presentations in English and in Spanish. And we want to make sure that you are all aware of that, because we want to make sure that we are more visible in the community. So if you have any questions, I know I have 58 seconds left. I'm more than happy to answer them. Otherwise,
that's a first.
Great. So thank you very much.
Okay. Thank you. Anybody else like to come up for comment? Okay. We'll move along to consent items. All matters listed under the consent agenda may be enacted by one motion.
I move to approve.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
And those are up. Okay. Councilmember West?
Yes.
Councilmember Bach?
Yes.
Councilmember Martirana?
Aye.
Vice Mayor Edge?
Yes.
Mayor Lund?
Aye.
All members of the council being present, the motion is stated by the mayor to pass this unanimously.
All right, we'll move along to presentations and informational items and reports. A contribution to the city for a monument entry signed by John Johnson and Del Webb. Are they in the audience here?
I'll take the first crack at this. Honorable Mayor, Honorable Council, good evening, my citizens of San Juan. I'm Anthony Botello, your county supervisor, and I did not dress this way to come to a San Juan Council meeting. I came directly from a supervisor's meeting. It was a busy day, and I'm proud to report to the council and to the citizens that we have a new general plan. We approved it today.
Nice.
And it's about 7 years of effort. I think San Juan probably did it a lot cheaper and quicker. But I'm very optimistic for the future of San Diego County going forward. Of course, there's some issues in the general plan that I think we could all pick apart, but all in all, it's something that's going to preserve our rural and historical character, and that's what I believe is important to all of us here in San Juan, and certainly to me. Another item that we worked on that is of significance and going forward with, as growth is inevitable and needs to be managed, is it's called a community finance district. We approved that for the Santana Ranch, and what that is a mechanism that the county is going to use to be what's called revenue neutral in providing additional services that the growth certainly needs. Public safety, general governmental services, and road maintenance and so forth. And we're developing a strategy that anything in the unincorporated areas is a have to comply with, and so we don't want to fall further behind with providing for the needs of all of the community, so I'm pretty pleased that we finally got there, which leads me to the introduction of what we're doing with a development that's in our district, Del Webb. I think mostly everybody is familiar with Del Webb. They submitted an application that's adjacent to the San Juan Oaks Golf Course, and it's been in the planning process for, I want to say, about a year and a half anyway, maybe 2 years already, and it's come before the Board of Supervisors for ratification of the EIR and approval of the development agreement probably this coming fall. And I'm really excited about this development in the fact that we'll have a CFD in place for it, which will be a direct benefit to the city of San Juan Bautista. For public safety, we're be able to partner even more so, make sure we have enough sheriffs patrol on this side of the county, enough firemen, and so forth, and partner with the city even further as we have revenue do that, and a joint need for that. The schools are benefit tremendously. The impact fees are being placed without really the impact on the classrooms, and that is something that could be a real turn for the San Juan School, Anzar High School, and I'm really excited about those benefits. Not to mention the potential for economic growth for our downtown, where folks that will be living in that community will hopefully shop and eat here. And so in order to kind of facilitate a nexus and ownership of what's happening in the unincorporated area, I suggested to our negotiating team a few weeks ago, perhaps Del Webb would be kind enough to make a contribution to the San Juan Monument effort. I attended a San Juan Monument meeting and was very impressed with the design work and the community effort to put San Juan on the map. You're not just going by us with on 156 without knowing that we're here. And I think that is very key to have good signage, and being that it's kind of appropriate, that draws your interest to our community. And I want to take my hat off to the San Juan Committee for leading that charge, and I think everybody's a benefit. So hopefully it's this dedication of funds will be set aside for whatever would economically benefit the whole town. So with that, I'll introduce Mr. Johnson from the Del Webb project to say a few words and see what he could add to. So thank you very much for your time, council members, and I'm happy to take questions as well.
All right, thank you.
Good afternoon, good evening, Mr. Mayor and council members. Could you give me some guidance on how much time I have? I don't need probably 5 minutes back to handle this, but 3 would be a little tight.
When he nods off, it's
if he starts nodding, I got to keep his attention. Let me introduce myself. I'm John Johnson. I represent Pulte Homes, which owns the Del Webb brand, and so I'm a retread. I retired in '07. there's so many layoffs in the housing industry. They called up some of us old retreads and said, could you come back to work? And with that in mind, I found this piece of property over by San Juan Oaks, and we've started work on a Del Webb community. And it's not just I might explain, it's not just the Del Webb. There will also be 67 what we call market rate homes. There will also be some commercial, all neighborhood type. And there will be an assisted living center. And there's also planned is a resort that will come. The resort won't come until we have enough momentum into the whole project. Our part, Pulte's part, and Del Webb is just the Del Webb component. So the San Juan Oaks ownership today, Ken Gemelli and Scott Fuller, who you know, will develop the rest of the property. But we're doing it all as one development in this particular case. I might just very quickly say, for some of you, what is an active adult community? I mean, what is it? And it's basically 55 years and older people. You have to be that, one member of the household has to be at least that age in order to live there. You cannot have children in the community. The average age, however, is 62, is what we have. They are what we call a lifestyle purchaser. They're buying a lifestyle that's based around exercise, bocce ball, tennis courts, swimming pools, and living the active adult time. Their biggest activity they do is actually walking. And so within our community we have, just within the Del Webb part, we have over 5 miles of areas for walking, and we have 2 or 3 other miles that actually go out throughout the Union Road. This community of people is very much, they don't put their money and put it under the mattress and don't sit in their house. They are out, they are active, and one of the reasons when Anthony brought up this thing about the signage, we always look for opportunities to expand around our community in the sense of how do we bring more to the community than we might take away. And so the signage thing is very attractive to us because our marketing people came here and spent a day here, half a day here in your community, and was very impressed, and we would like to use this community as a draw actually for our community because of the charm and the quaintness that it has. And so I think you will see a lot of these folks here in your community, and one of the things that they're very big in is volunteerism. In your schools, your libraries, any place where there's volunteers needed, these folks will be very much here and be a part of your community. So what is, so this kind of community, what kind of benefits do they bring to the community? First of all, the state law requires us to pay what's called the Sterling Act in payment for school fees. So the Del Webb component, which consists of a little over 1,000 homes, will have about $1,000 per home under the fee schedule will go to the school district, and that translates to basically $1 million. We will not put one student in the school district. So that will very much fall in their budget without cost. So that's a pretty major contribution that's being made. The market rate housing will deliver another $600,000 plus into the school district, but it will have students there because it's regular market housing. So, but that will happen during the build-out time. And then I got from our economic folks, what does this mean for the school district on the long run? Once we're fully built out, it should deliver $2,840,000 per year to the school district, which is very substantial, obviously. $160,000 will go to the San Benito County schools, the way that the breakdown comes, and $400,000 will go to Gavin College. So there's pretty substantial contributions without us almost not touching the districts for requirement. Our people will go to the college. They will do that. They'll be active in the college format. During this time period, we also, with the theme that Anthony was talking about, with being income neutral we will be very active in trying to demonstrate to the county, and we've done that with economic studies and so forth, that during the construction period, which by the way will take about 4 years to complete. Once it's started, it'll take about 4 years. So the actual land development part will be started after, in 2016. And so the following 4 years, the development should take place. And then we would have build out, and these kind of funds would come forward. During the construction phase, there'll be over 600 jobs created from this activity. And then when it's all done, there'll be a minimum of 322 jobs created by this community. And as an example, Scott Fuller and his golf course already has 40 or 50 people work there. We'll have about 80. Those are permanent jobs that stay with the community forever. And so they will be managed by the HOA that will be there. So this is some of the contribution that this community does. And so these folks are going to be very active in your banking, your financial services, your medical of all kinds. All medical of any kind. They'll be involved. Pharmacy, beauty, coffee shops, all these kind of things will be very much actively people will be active in those areas and using those kind of facilities. So we look forward to moving forward. And I want to say to you, I was also thinking about for your benefit, what is the downside? What's the downside if Del Webb gets built here in this community? The downside is, and it's financially there is no downside, but there will be more people. That's just a fact. There will be more people, and but we are a few miles away. They'll be splitting between going to Hollister and coming here for shopping and retail activities, and also when you have more people, that means there's change, right? There's going to be change. So that's the main downside, if there is one, for this kind of development. And so I just want to let you know that there is a build-out cycle that takes 4 or 5 years to get completed. And we like this idea of being able to make a contribution to the community here, because we like the idea of having more signage. We think that's very good, because we like to encourage that. And so we would like to ask your support in any way that you can do that. Our EIR is now published. And I talked to you about 156. I know more about 156 than I ever want to know about a road in my whole life. And so I don't have to say anything to you about that. I mean, that's going to happen. And we are participating down on the other end, if you would, in the interchange of Union and that light there. Also, Union Road will get improved, and we will have a traffic light coming out of our project. So we're very much entwined in this, and we're also paying some pretty huge traffic fees in addition to doing work. So some of that we get credit for, some of it we may not. Anyhow, I hope that making a contribution to your community, and we have to naturally get through the process of getting approved, and we have to stay involved with you over time. And we're going to look forward to working with your community in this form and perhaps other forms. We like this one a lot because it's signage. It brings more sense of, everybody comes up and down 156. The more they can see who you are and what you are, I think is a help, at least in our minds. So with that, I do have a handout I'll leave for you to take home and read. It's got a lot of information. There's some things I know because this whole community, in this whole area, the San Juan Valley, by the way, we are building a park, and we're getting your historical society to help us. We're going to do a history on boards about the San Juan Valley and the ag that's taking place here, and the history about it. And so that's going to be in one of our county parks. The other thing is we want to maintain these parks in the way that Anthony was talking about. They'll be covered by CFDs, and so there's not any economic burden to you, even though you're a city, but you still participate in the county, because county and city do work together in different things. And I'm probably going way past my time here tonight, and would like to offer, one more ag thing I'm going to tell you. Out south of town here, excuse me, north, I'll get my directions right here. That's north, right? I got that right? Okay. Well, we just put a permanent ag easement on 151 acres. It will always, it's out there by the high school, 151 acres that will forever be ag. And we have 41 acres of ag in our project that will be forever ag. So it's about 200 acres. We have 1,200 acres that is going into permanent open space. Basically all the hills. We're not building anywhere on the hills. And we're actually building on some grazing area, no row crop areas be taken out of production. So that's one of the things I know ag is very important in your community, and I want you to know we paid a lot of attention to that, and we have done these things in order to make our project better. We like the 1,200 acres up on the hill because folks are going to be looking at that, just like you do. It's all good. Pam, I open myself up to any questions. If you have any, I'd be glad to try to answer any question. Okay. Yes, sir.
Is this going to be similar to the Sun City in Arizona by Phoenix?
Yes. Sun City.
Wide streets and rolled curbs and.
Yes.
And they have rec centers down there.
Yes, they do. We will have one about somewhere between 17,500 and 25,000 square feet. We'll have an indoor pool, outdoor pool, exercise, meeting rooms. And this is in addition to the golf club. I mean, the golf club still has their, that's separate ownership. There'll be another one. By the way, that one's about 25,000 square feet too. So yes, to answer your question very directly, we will have one of those. Actually, we don't like real wide streets. We like to have very normal streets, and to have, because the wider the street, the faster the traffic, and we don't want fast traffic. You know, we want slower traffic if we can. Okay, and so and also we will. You as a citizen of this county will not incur the burden of the streets.
Right.
The HOA will pay for the streets. They will be private streets, but they will be maintained by us. And so, but they're built to county standards naturally.
No,
So-
the reason I asked is my parents lived in Sun City, outside of Phoenix,
Outside of Phoenix.
and they really, really liked it.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
that one's big. They even had their own hospital.
Yeah, it's a huge. Some of those down there are like 10,000 homes.
Yeah.
They're huge places. And this one's 1,000, and it's a smaller version of that. But the services and what we do for the residents is basically the same. So since the name Sun City always tells you that's the big ones, if you would. And so, and they have multiple golf courses and so on and so forth. This one, we have a golf course next door that we don't have to own, which is good. So, any other questions this evening I can help you with? And we'll stay in touch with the mayor on this signage thing as we go forward.
Great. Any type of emergency services that'll be inside the...
I'm sorry?
Any type of emergency services will there be inside?
On
Within
site?
on site
site.
within the
No,
community
no.
or nearby?
No, and that's what Anthony was talking about earlier. There's going to be a CFD where we are funding a very substantial amount to generically called public safety, and the county will decide how to spend that money rather than us, but it's specifically for police and fire.
What was the estimated population when the project's completed?
The whole project, about 2,000 people, approximately. We have our houses in the active adult average 1.67 people per house. So we're much less than a market rate house. And in this county, you have an average of about 3.5 in a regular market size house. We have 1.67. So our imprint, and these people are not in the commute, so we don't impact you with a lot of traffic. We use less sewer, less water, less everything, and so it's a very attractive development in the sense because market rate housing takes more, and we take much less. And so, did I answer your question?
Yeah.
And so that's part of the county process that we're going through with back to your original question on the CFD.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah, if I could add to the mayor's question. Originally, when Salmon Oaks was approved, I don't know, 10, 15 years ago, the plan was to put a fire station there. And for my selfish purposes, I think staffing is the key to fire services. And we have a need for stations in North County as well as South County. And we're a long ways from getting,
West.
South County station, as you know, working on the committee. So, my emphasis has always been to try to build the San Juan Fire Department in partnership with the city, the county and the city working together, and then try to, so let's eliminate that station there at San Juan Oaks and bring the effort here. And I think both communities would be very well served, and the county could try to continue its, efforts to add a few more stations.
Great.
I might add though, we have reserved a 2-acre site that if, let's say this whole world changes in 10 or 15 years, there is a site that will be available there. So, but again, as he explained, and all my experience has been, it's the staffing, it's the operational side, not the building.
Right.
Buildings cost a lot of money too, but I mean, it's just costs
It's
a
a
lot of money
one-time.
to take care of fire. So, any other questions this evening? I'm sorry I've gone way past my time here.
No.
Um,
I don't think we had time for this one. It was open.
Okay. All right. All good?
All right, thank
I'll
you
leave
for
this
coming
I'll
up.
leave this here with your person, and you can distribute this at a later time. I'll put these right here.
Thank you.
Okay?
Thank you.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
I do have a speaker card, please.
Okay.
Rachel Clancy, speaker.
I heard swimming pool and my ears perked up. I was wondering if it would be a public swimming pool and just a form of information. Anzar High School, who is down the road on San Juan Highway, does have a swimming pool, does have a swimming team, but they go to Gilroy for their meets and their practices.
Wow.
And so this would be, if the swimming pool would accommodate the high school, that surely would be a plus.
That'd be great.
No, there's
Okay. Okay, we'll move along to B, Cemetery District, special recognition of Lori Sabin and Tom Rancordy.
I don't have a plaque or anything or a presentation, but on behalf of the San Juan Bautista Cemetery District Board of Directors and the families of all the veterans interred there, we wish to thank Lori Sabin, Tom Rancordy, and everyone that helped them place flags on the veterans' grave sites for the 4th of July. It was a gesture that was deeply appreciated by all of us. And again, our most heartfelt thanks to all of you. And by the way, Lori works at the Happy Rooster restaurant, okay? And the reason Happy is in the name is due to Lori. So if she waits on you, you will be happy. Thank you.
All right. So I complete for B?
Yeah.
Okay.
I wish I had a plaque or something.
Yeah. Item C, item C, proclamations, San Benito Health Foundation. If they'd like to come up. And we have,
misplaced them, but this is exactly how I'm doing announcements with this, the seal as well.
can I read all three? Anybody want to help? Yeah, if you'd like, if each one of you would like to read one. Right here, I have them right here. I'll give them to Trish. Trish will handle over there.
Nice dodge. Nice dodge.
Yeah.
Okay, so we have 3 events that happen at the same time every year, and it's the National Health Center Week. This year we celebrate 50 years of the Community Health Center movement, and we actually celebrate our 40th year, so we're just 10 years behind the Community Health Center movement. But in addition to that, the National Health Center Week, we also celebrate Farm Worker Health Week and Breastfeeding Awareness. So we have 3 events that we combine.
That's great.
So there are 3 proclamations. The first one is, whereas all available knowledge indicates that human milk optimally enhances the growth, development, and well-being of the infant by providing the best possible nutrition and protection against serious health conditions, including obesity, diabetes, and allergies. And whereas breastfeeding is economically providing its benefit at little cost or no cost, and whereas breastfeeding benefits society through lower healthcare costs for infants and healthier workforce, stronger family bonds, and less landfill waste, and whereas breastfeeding saves lives by reducing the incidence of several types of life-threatening cancers in women and serious illness in vulnerable infants, and whereas the professionals at San Benito Health Foundation WIC program promote breastfeeding education and resources to all families of San Juan Bautista and their employers, such as the lactation accommodation laws requiring employers to provide their breastfeeding employees both the time and a private space in which to either nurse their infants or to express breast milk for their benefits. And whereas this year's World Breastfeeding Week theme is breastfeeding and work, let's make it work. Response to the current MDG countdown process by asserting the importance of increasing and sustaining the protection, promotion, and support of breastfeeding in the post-2016 agenda, and engaging as many groups and people as at various ages as possible. And whereas the people of San Juan Bautista, California are deserving of good health, and now therefore it be resolved that the City Council of the City of San Juan Bautista does hereby proclaim August 2015 as Breastfeeding Awareness Month in the City of San Juan Bautista, California, in order to actively promote breastfeeding as the optimum and preferred method of infant feeding and as our community's cultural norm. We also want to mention that we do have a WIC site in San Juan Bautista where we do provide classes. We provide WIC benefits and also classes on nutrition and breastfeeding.
I have the National Health Center Week proclamation from August 9th through the 15th. I'll be brief on this one. Whereas for 50 years, American Community Health Centers have provided high-quality, cost-effective, and accessible primary and preventative care to all individuals, regardless of insurance status or ability to pay. Whereas centers are located in medically undeserved areas and locally controlled by patients' majority boards, making each health center responsive to the needs of the specific community it services, and as health centers employ more than 9,500 physicians and more than 6,300 nurse practitioners, physician assistants, and certified nurse midwives, along with social workers, case managers, and community health workers, as part of the multidisciplinary clinical team designed to as a patient-centered health home. Whereas National Health Center Week offers the opportunity to recognize America's health centers, their dedicated staff, board members, and all their responsible for the continued access and growth of the program since its creation 50 years ago. During this National Health Center Week, we recognize the significant contributions of American health centers and their vital role as local engines for healthier communities in a healthier America. Now, therefore, it is resolved that the City Council for the City of San Juan Bautista does hereby proclaim August 9th through the 15th as National Health Center Week. Thank you.
All right, thank you.
And I'm reading the Farm Worker Health Day proclamation, and I'll also be brief. I'll read some paragraphs of it. Migrant health centers have evolved into strong models of primary care practice addressing the complex needs of vulnerable populations while demonstrating the value of outreach, patient education, and linguistically and culturally competent care while promoting better health and ensuring healthy communities. And whereas studies have confirmed that migrant health centers deliver comprehensive, high quality and cost-effective preventive and primary health care services in addition to lifting the barriers of health care and reducing health disparities. Now therefore, let it be resolved that San Juan Bautista City Council hereby proclaims the month of August 15th as Farm Worker Health Day. Thank you.
Thank you.
And I'll end with an invitation to all to our open house and our main facility in Hollister. It will be August 13th from 3 to 6 p.m. We'll have some refreshments, and you'll have an opportunity to see the renovations that we've performed in the facility, our future upcoming changes to the building, and also meet some of our new clinical staff.
Oh, that's great. Thank you.
Excuse me.
Thank you for coming up and reading those for me. All right.
I didn't
Okay.
think about that when I had to do it.
All right, we'll move along to item D, support San Benito Community Radio Project with Bob Reed.
Hello, Bob Reed, 1133 Salinas Road, Mr. Mayor, City Council, Attorney, City Manager, my family. I'm here to ask the City Council to show their support for local community radio for San Benito County. Over 2 years ago, when I was serving on the Vision San Benito Committee, and as a CMAP employee, actually, it was established that, well, it was recognized that our area lives in a media shadow, that we're not covered by the media in general. CMAP, at one of their board meetings, came up with the idea that one of the ways that they could use media to help improve community in the area, as CMAP's role, was a radio station. That idea came up independently as part of the Vision San Benito listening sessions and the Vision Summit. The idea of a radio station was considered. Over 2 years ago, I heard that there was going to be an opportunity to apply for a low-power FM license through the Federal Communications Commission. The last time this was available was 15 years ago. So this opportunity was coming up, and I started having meetings around the county to find out if people were interested in supporting that kind of thing. At one of those meetings, Kathy Bisbee, who was then executive director of CMAP, came to one of our meetings and said that CMAP was in the position where they had funds that they could only use for capital projects. They couldn't use it for salaries. And she suggested that they could use that money to purchase equipment and build a studio if we could put together a volunteer group to run the station. So we had some conversation about that, and it was decided to accept the offer. One of the reasons that she was making the offer was that CMAP had chosen in moving from Gavilan College to move to Christopher High School, which was farther away from San Benito County, less accessible to San Benito County. They had also closed their Hollister office, so they had less presence in San Benito County. And she thought this might be a way to help balance that. And she also said because cable access entities around the country are looking for ways to be relevant in a world where people are carrying around video cameras and can upload to YouTube their videos. And one of the things Kathy said at that time was if CMAP existed in 5 years, it may well be as a radio station, which is something that other cable access entities have done. So we applied for the license to the FEC through CMAP. I had engaged an engineer who was a friend of mine who had done a bunch of the local stations as well as stations all over the country. And he found a frequency that would be available. We found a site that would work. He did the engineering. We did the application. CMAP submitted the papers for the nonprofit organization, and we did all the engineering for them with Don. And the license was approved. We were granted a construction permit to build a station. We had 18 months to build the station to be on the air and broadcasting 32 hours of local content a week in order to get the license. The permit would be then turned into a license. So we put together a volunteer group. We had a technical team, a broadcasting technical team, a programming team, marketing team. And there seemed to be a lag between CMAP's understanding of what a low-power FM license was. They didn't. When I did my presentation to the board after we had been granted the construction permit, there were still people on the CMAP board that did not really know what that was. So I had to bring them up to speed. And it took, and so CMAP was responsible for gaining permission for placement of an antenna and transmitter on Park Hill, which is specified in our application. And then they allocated $30,000 to purchase equipment and to build the studio. They went into negotiations about where the studio might be and found a building that didn't really work. Meanwhile, a new executive director had come on board. Kathy Bisbee had left. And there was a period of, I don't know, maybe 6 to 9 months where there was no executive director at CMAP. And the project really didn't have much momentum. We were waiting to do something, but CMAP insisted that things needed to go through them, so we just waited. Then last December, when a new executive director was hired, we were informed that the agreement, she did not feel that the agreement was appropriate. She felt that what she said was, you can't expect us to build a station and let you run it, which was what we had thought CMAP was asking us to do in the first place. So it was clear that there was less enthusiasm for the project. Our 18 months is up August 21st. And we have watched the months tick by without progress happening. We realized that there was going to be a crunch. We were aware that it was possible to apply for an extension. You can apply for up to, I think, 3 years of extensions. But you have to demonstrate that you've made progress towards getting on the air. As someone told me, they'll give you they'll give you an extension for getting on the air, but not for getting your act together. So I have gone to the CMAP board, I think a couple times in the last 3 months, trying to get them to reconsider their decision. They made a decision about 3 months ago not to continue with the project. And I think part of that, the reason for that was they have been asked to leave Christopher High School, so they have to find a new location for their studios. What they thought was going to be a more permanent arrangement turned out not to be. So, you know, we, in terms of financial support, we never really expected financial support from CMAP. They offered that. We intended to raise the money to put the station on the air ourselves. It only takes about $6,000 to get on the air. You know, if you pre-record your recordings and put it on a laptop and hook it up to the transmitter, you're on the air. You can do that for about $6,000. We thought, you know, that's one of the reasons we're attracted to low power FM, because it's really inexpensive. It would take probably another $20,000 to build a studio and to have an on-air studio like that, which is something that we were planning to do as well. We would like to have the opportunity to do this. And as the time is ticking away, we want to make sure that we don't let the opportunity go by without feeling that we did everything we could do to salvage this project. I have a lot of people who have already invested time and energy into it. I want to respect their time and energy. I would like to be able to find some way for CMAP to hold the license, to apply for the extension and hold the license until it can be transferred to another nonprofit organization that qualifies. If we could find a way to do it without them being liable in any way. And I would like to have the city council's support in doing that. You know, you are one of the CMAP partners. You know, City of San Juan is one of the entities that makes up CMAP. And I want you to be aware of this. I feel that community radio is consistent with CMAP's mission. I think that it is media. And CMAP initially thought that it was, so much so that they were considering applying for an LPFM license for Gilroy as well. But look, the rules have changed. We just want to see if there's some way we can salvage the project, and would like your support. If you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer.
Okay. Chris?
No, I asked for the item to be added to the agenda. I think that I'd like to see us basically ask staff to write a letter of support to the CMAP board to, as Bob said, at least get them to extend, to make the application for the extension, to give Bob and his group time to pull it together, what the pieces that they need to pull together to basically take over the license. So that to me seems very appropriate. It seems like a benefit to the community, and it would be, it doesn't seem like it would put them out in any way, really. Mm-hmm. It came up very quickly because we talked about doing it at the next meeting, having CMAP here as well, but the deadline is just approaching way too fast, so it needed to be on tonight's agenda.
How do you feel about that, Tony?
It sounds like a good, especially if all we're obligated to is a letter.
How do you feel?
I'm a friend of Mike Smith. I think it's a great idea.
Yeah, it's fine with me. We obviously don't have any money to put into it, but if they think they can generate it.
Yeah, if we could, you know, we'll direct staff to put a letter together and in support of the project. And we wish you the best for that, and we hope you get the extension. And it would be neat to see that happen.
Yeah, we asked for the placement on Park Hill so we could cover San Juan, cover the whole valley.
Yeah. Well, that's the top priority, that it covers San Juan.
We could put you on top of the water tank.
Yeah, we put you on the water tower there. All right.
So you'll give him the information where to address, who to address the letter to and everything?
Yeah, so staff will give you, Roger.
Roger.
What do I do with my agenda here? Okay. All right, we'll move on to item E, monthly financial statements and treasurer's report. Mr. Geig.
I was glad you said there was no money.
And here's the guy.
No,
to back
actually,
me up.
I want to just go on record. I think it's a great idea, and I wish we could help this guy. And it'd be nice to have a local radio station for San Juan. Well, good evening, council and your city staff. I'm Chuck Geiger, and reporting on the treasury report. We've come to the end of our fiscal year, which now what we'll do over the next 30 to 45 days, we'll be closing the books, taking a look at what you allocated in budgets, and then what we actually spent. And then I'll report that back to you when we get it back from our CPA and stuff, okay? You have a copy of the report. I'd like to, keep the transparency with the public here, so just a couple comments. The general fund, which is the overall umbrella, we're still working in a positive cash flow, which is real important. It has been dropping. We know that the enterprise fund, which is our water and sewer, people have been saving water, but unfortunately our revenues are down, and we're all aware of this. But I think, Roger, haven't we met the state? Aren't we real close to 25%? I believe we're real close to having that savings, which is what Governor Brown has asked us to do. So bring that to point. Overall, the cash flow is still positive. Like I said, it has been decreasing, but decisions made by the city manager and our city council here, making sure that things stay in line with the budget. Sometimes when some of our expenses go up, we look for ways of saving. How we do that generally tends to come back on our capital improvements. We have to just kind of slow down the process on capital improvements. So, and that's smart planning. I just want to say that's real smart planning, that when the revenues start increasing, we can kind of start, ramping up what we're doing on our capital improvements. But they are moving forward. I just want to make sure the council understands we are moving forward with that. Okay. A couple of things. First of all, I remember Councilmember Bach, you asked about an update on the spreadsheet on the money going into the special funds. This for like park and recreation stuff. Remember that request? Sure. That spreadsheet that I gave you last time is actually up to date. We have several projects that are in line for approval. Once they're approved, then we will, when we book that money, and then we'll allocate that money into those areas. Yeah. Just, but let you know that there has nothing really changed from the last time I brought it to you. And I think, Roger, what do we got? 4 or 5 on the books getting ready to come in?
That's
6. So that's, I hope if that happens in the next 30 days, I'll bring it to you next month. Let you know.
Great.
Okay. Before I get to the warrants, I just made a copy. If it's okay if I approach the council, I'll hand you. Sure. We talked about the accounting codes when we write checks and how we post them, and this is all done by our CPA. It's done through the spreadsheet, but we're trying to make it a little more transparent for you on how we, when we say that this budget code has so much money, kind of really show you when we look at the warrants where that money, is going into. And we're still in the process. I'll be honest with you. We're trying to get that synced to show to you. But I want to give each of you a copy. This is for the public. This is just what we call them budget accounting codes. And I just want you can keep this in your binder. So once every month, you can just if you just leave it in there. I just hand you one.
Thank you.
I put it on heavier weight paper, so
so we don't lose it.
So
thank you.
If you crumble it up, you'll know for sure. So hopefully we'll be able to get that. So when we're looking at the warrants, let's go ahead and pull that. And by the way, for the public, the warrants are the checks written. They're written out of what we call the operating account. And basically, it's these are what it looks like. And this is what we have written checks for this month.
We've been through an hour.
There are
We've got
1,
three
2,
speakers.
3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. The reason I mention this, you're going to see some pretty good numbers here, and I'll go over those with you if you need explanation. But about $18,000 of the dollars of the amount of money is actually coming back to us. We'll recover it, okay, out of the checks. So let me just open it up to council. Was there questions on any particular payment I can address?
That Obering Environmental, that's which project?
I'm sorry, what's the check? Who's it written to?
Obering?
7765.
Oh, okay, that's...
Oberding Environmental.
Right, that's another one of the refunds coming back to someone. They've deposited money with us. That's coming back to them. It's just taking it back. They've made a significant deposit when they started, and now we're refunding money back to them.
Which project?
Roger, would you like to address that?
These are proposed projects that are going through an environmental review.
Oh.
And the applicants are responsible to submit the funds to the city, and the environmental review is performed by the city. And then we pay the consultants to do that, and then we will then circulate the environmental document, and the developer then reimburses the city. So all of those costs that you'll see, of the 7 items that Chuck has pointed out, are all reimbursed because they are contracted through the city for environmental review for those environmental documents. I think it goes back to, the developer has to be hands away from the environmental document when it's prepared.
You'll notice also in the warrants that there were 2 checks written to Pavix. That's because we didn't get in on the last month, and that has to do with the infrastructure project out here.
Loan repayment.
Okay. There is also 2 checks written to our law office. That once again they were actually they're a few months behind on billing us. So that's what you see. You see some of their in the rears coming forward to be paid. The one to City Hollister, that's part of our fire contract. $8,727. Parsac, that's our liability insurance on the back page. And let's see if there's any other ones really jump out at you.
How often is that Parsac payment?
It's that's about a third of the year.
Okay.
About 4 months.
Got it.
Okay.
We pay it one time. They usually do it right before the beginning of the fiscal year. Liability insurance and employee bond.
So the approximately $10,000 is an annual number?
Yeah.
Great, thank you.
I thought it was about 30,000. I thought it was about 30,000.
There's another installment for another insurance.
The workers' comp.
Parsac doesn't.
That's state fund. Yeah.
So this would be just the liability?
I think the total is probably about 30,000.
For liability or for everything?
All of our
I'm just
liability insurance is right.
Okay.
On the back page or the second page,
I hope so.
at the top, you'll see a check written for a little over $8,000. That has to do with we have the company that's going to do our drilling for well number 4. They're requesting 50% up front before we start the drilling, before they start the drilling. Okay. Any other questions on it? So if you just take the bottom number, you basically subtract about 18,000 off of it, which is being reimbursement. Okay? So, I think that's it. Anybody have any more questions, council members?
No.
City staff? Public?
All right, well, thank you. Okay, we'll move along to the sheriff's report. Was anything sent to us?
Thank you.
All right, thanks, Chuck. Nothing was sent? Okay, we'll move along to fire chief's report.
Thank you, members of the council, Mr. Manager. It's been a busy month for our fire department with the rally and the 4th of July fireworks fiascos. And then, of course, we had the fire here in San Juan Bautista a couple of weeks ago. You know, for the viewing public that didn't get a chance to be at the special meeting, I want to emphasize that we did end up with 9 engines from mutual aid at that fire. We had Salinas, Marina, Seaside, North Monterey County, the county engine, of course, and San Juan Bautista's engine, and a Hollister engine, all here to put that fire out. The house that burned on Franklin Court was on fire before we got here. Firefighters are trained to stop the spread of a fire before they go back and extinguish the body of the fire. If we had gone directly to Franklin Court in that case, there would have been 3 houses on fire. There were 2 houses just 2 doors down from that house that the eaves were burning in the back of the house. So the first engine stopped up on the highway and attacked that fire and put those eaves out, saving those 2 houses. The very second engine that showed up went directly to Franklin Court. And while it is tragic that there was damage to that house, that damage was already in progress when we got there. And that one crew did a great job of minimizing the damage to a couple bedrooms, hallway. And of course there's smoke damage throughout the house. And it's going to take, you know, remodeling, some sheetrock and paint and carpets and furniture and things to rebuild it. But the structure of the house is sound and it's still there. And with just some carpentry work and remodeling, it'll be back up and running in no time. So in my opinion, I think we did a fairly good job of putting that out, considering there were 4 fires burning at the same time. And we did get good response from mutual aid. Yesterday we had a very similar fire. It started on 101 between 156 and 129. Much more significant fire. It burned very quickly up over a steep hill and down toward houses on Anzar Road. We ended up with your San Juan Bautista engine and 2 of our Hollister engines protecting those houses on Anzar Road. And with the help from CAL FIRE's bomber, who put a drop right behind those houses, we were able to keep any fire damage from reaching those homes at all. So again, everybody from CAL FIRE and Hollister Fire did a great job on that fire, and it was limited to 25 to 30 acres of grass and no structures damaged. And that's about all I have to say.
All right, thank you.
I have a question.
Sure.
On the 4th of July, who's responsible for, let me put it this way, on Morena's Court they had a 4-hour fireworks display. There was somebody over in this area shooting, I mean big skyrockets, and also somebody over by, the only way, I think it was coming from the direction of Neal's Market. But maybe I'm mistaken, but I thought even Safe and Sane weren't allowed in San Juan.
They are legal.
Am I correct?
We were selling them here.
They're being sold here.
Right, but you can't
They're
use them
legal.
here.
Yeah, there's nothing.
Can't use them.
Yeah, Safe and Sane fireworks are allowed both in Hollister and in San Juan Bautista.
Oh, I don't.
And it really isn't the Safe and Sane fireworks that are the major problem. And those are even a problem if, you know, kids throw them in the air and they land on a roof and those kind of things.
Yeah.
But that's pretty rare. Really, the issue is the illegal fireworks, both here and in Hollister. It looked like a war zone in Hollister during that time. And frankly, with the engines running the way we did and the rally going on at the same time, we were stretched pretty thin to to answer all the calls, and there's no way we could keep up with the amount of fireworks that were being displayed. So we are coming up with a plan for next year. Part of that plan, I can tell you now, is we're moving the rally off of the 4th of July weekend. So the motorcycle rally will be the weekend after the 4th of July, which will allow both us and the police department to dedicate more people to the fireworks issue, separate from the rally itself. So that'll help quite a bit. And then,
Great.
Well, who's typically responsible for enforcement of the...
well, local police department, sheriff's department, fire department, all of us.
Okay, in that order?
Not in any one order, but whoever receives the call that's available can go.
Yeah, because a fireman can write a ticket or to somebody.
If they have the capability to write a citation, they can. Not all fire departments have that capability. We do have a fire marshal, but you got to remember at the same time, they're also busy chasing calls. We're doing a whole bunch of calls, and there's not a lot of people to go write tickets. And police department was basically not available because of the rally.
Yeah.
They were downtown, and so that'll help a lot next year. In fact, just this morning we had a discussion with Chief Westrick about how we're going to handle next year, and I think we're going to have a whole different program next year of dealing with the fireworks. In fact, we're not going to wait till then. We're going to go out and visit some of the homes. We know we're doing it, and pay a visit to those folks and just kind of give them a heads up that we're going to be a little bit stricter next year than they were this year.
Well, you know, as dry as it is and everything, it was...
Yeah, absolutely.
It was kind of scary.
Yeah, it's all
even
scary.
here.
It's all scary to a fireman, you know, even the Safe and Sane stuff. So, but Safe and Sane fireworks are usually sold by nonprofit organizations, and the profits they make from that go to good uses. So it's kind of a mixed bag of whether you outlaw it or you allow it, because some of that money gets put to good use.
Okay, thank you.
Most of the time we'll drive around and just confiscate what we can.
Yeah, and then
turn
you
it.
take... No, for some reason I thought...
We'll move on to, I want to move on to...
wasn't allowed here.
Yeah. We'll move on to library report. Do we have anything on the library report?
Well, we don't usually ask the library to be present unless you ask.
Okay.
Like to hear from you.
Administrative report.
In your packet there, I have identified the 4 different departments there, the public works, we're moving forward, new projects going on. One of the,
Oh, my coffee?
And one of the projects that we're embarking upon is to start doing some pavement striping and pavement restorations and patching. So that's, we start to initiate here in the next 2 weeks. Code enforcement, Rudy's been doing an excellent job, and we're riding herd on a lot of the stuff. We're developed a nice combination of a brochure that's going to be going out to the merchants, highlighting the design guidelines, the sign ordinance, and other regulations that we put into effect that keeping the sidewalks open and free from interference and stuff. And I'll be bringing that to the Planning Commission, and they'll be reviewing that and then forward it to you once it gets through the Planning Commission's review. Planning Department, we're doing completing the final environmental draft stuff on the general plan. It's proceeding, and I think it should be back in front of you very shortly after our final public hearing on it. And we're continuing with the LAFCO. Unfortunately, we didn't get all our applications in on time because of kind of a glitch in terms of some payment fees, but we're on board, I think, at this LAFCO with the well site, and then the following month, then we'll have probably 3 or 4 of them that'll come forward, and we can finish those up.
The reservoir also,
Yes.
and the well site.
Yeah. And then we're processing a hillside ordinance and a noise ordinance, so we're working on those with the Planning Commission to do various stuff. And once it gets through the planning process, will be forwarded it to you as a recommendation. General Manager's Department, we're busy on the rate study here, and you're in front of that tonight. We're processing the data on it and for the bonds and refinancing. We've got a conference call Saturday morning to go over the data that's there and then how that's going to affect the perspective for selling the revenue bonds. Looks very promising, and the Fed's rate is still holding good. And we're continuing to work on our revenue reserve program and capital assets, and I've got some handouts here tonight that'll kind of give you, when you get to the end of the meeting, so you can kind of get an idea of where we're at, And we're working on the violations to amend the offer of payment for penalties, and that's on the agenda tonight, the 2 items there, and we'll go over that. And George Thatcher has been instrumental in getting us a 30-day extension, so we can.
I know the depth.
Okay, that's about it.
Okay, great. We'll move on to item J, public meetings and city council committee reports. I'll start with Chris.
I don't have anything to report.
Okay. Tony?
COG, I discussed with Caltrans the weed abatement along the highway, brought it to their attention.
And what they did?
And also, they got, Caltrans, for some reason, determined that the underpass at Washington Street needed several signs alerting people that it was 15-foot 2-inch clearance.
Wow.
Okay, so they did it going in and coming back out. And I mentioned it to Caltrans, and I said, this is one of those, what were they thinking? Because number one, if a truck is too high to get underneath it, how's it going to get back out? In other words, So as a result of that, the majority of those signs disappeared, and
Good.
And I couldn't believe that one. And then let's see, I think that's about it. They're still, COG is still discussing putting out for a vote for a half a percent tax increase, sales tax increase that would be strictly for, I'm trying to get them to make it just strictly for road, the care, improvement, and possibly new roads. And if you name it just transportation, you might end up buying a new bus or something with it, And that's not my idea.
Yeah.
And so we're working on that, and we have a consultant hired. So that's where we are on that.
Tony, question. The meeting the fire meeting, the special meeting we had, after that meeting, a couple of the residents asked about extending the sound wall further down. Did that come up at all? And if not, could you bring it up with them?
No, yeah, it didn't. I don't believe it came up, yeah.
It seems like a reasonable
I kind of
request.
remember something about a sound wall, but it was like, why was part of it done further to the west? And then right in that particular area behind Franklin Circle, there's nothing,
Yeah, so the request was made to extend that, and the question was brought up of whether it was a city function, a Caltrans function, and who that would fall to extend that sound wall.
Well, that would be a Caltrans thing.
That's what I
It's there
thought.
right away.
So, yeah, that's what I thought.
Yeah.
And so if you could bring that up to COG,
Sure.
I think that would be appreciated.
Okay.
There is a future project after the 156 road from the Alameda to the Union Road is complete. The next phase is to go from the Alameda to the Campanera, which is the 101 intersection, and repave and restripe and do some improvements there. I think that would be the time when you plant the seeds. It's probably 218, 219 before that begins. Plant the seeds to where they could do some sound walls and architecturally walls along those strips that would prevent that.
So let me get clear. You talked to somebody about this?
I had a couple of residents approach me about it after that meeting.
Okay.
Chuck?
Something just came to mind. I wanted to ask Tony, is there a sign when you go to San Juan grade to Salinas for 18-wheelers not to go that way? Because I was coming from Salinas because it was heavy traffic, and there was an 18-wheeler on the grade, and he had pulled over. You know how it kind of winds, and before it's a real curve, he pulled over, and I was coming the other direction, and I ended up calling 911. But when I got to the bottom, I didn't see a sign anywhere that said 18-wheelers should not go this way. But he was stuck up there. I don't know how you get him down. I mean,
usually you get there's usually a kingpin size, what do they have? No trucks over so long of like kingpin to trailer to axle.
Yeah.
On that, but yeah, I don't remember seeing anything on there.
Why would a guy?
They follow the GPS.
That's another one of those. What was he thinking?
On the grade. And I don't know how he would get out of there. I don't know how he got out of there.
Some good backing skills.
Google and the GPS.
If you,
people through,
exactly.
And they have no idea whether it's.
If they buy a GPS that's intended for the trucking market, it will not do that. It will set you on a different path. But rarely do they do that. They're buying automotive units.
I was concerned about the liability to San Juan.
Sure.
If we didn't have a sign posted and he goes that direction, but it was anyway. I think
once they hit Salinas, though, they're in county.
They were they were in our county because you can tell when the road changes from San Bernardino County to Monterey. It's real easy to tell.
I would say is I'll get hold of the county road department, and it would be their jurisdiction.
Okay.
But you're right about the GPS, because the guys that I stop in front of my house with an 18-wheeler.
Always.
Well, my GPS told me come this way.
Did it tell you to run the stop sign too?
Did it tell you, mention those signs outside? So.
Anyway,
You're
I've
right.
never seen it in 20 years, an 18-wheeler. I guess we're trying to get through all that traffic going to Salinas, but
probably,
I don't know what they cost them to get out of there. It's probably pretty amazing.
Oh, God.
But anyway, that's all.
All right, well, we had the fire committee, and basically just heard the report that Geringer had prior to the fire. We haven't made any progress on the fire contract yet. We haven't been contacted by Hollister yet to finish any of those negotiations. We've been kind of talking in the office. Intergovernment was canceled due to we didn't have a quorum, and that's all I have.
I had no meeting last month.
I had no meeting.
All right. Trish, is this the rest of the agenda on this one? Because I got two.
Yes, now we're with 5A action items.
Okay. Okay, moving on to 5A action items. Approve resolution 2015. Trish? 34, accepting the 2015 water and wastewater rate study submitted by Bartle and Wells. Bring that back to staff.
Yes, Mr. Mayor, members of the council, I think you've all got a copy of the rate study for 2015.
Yeah, I got it.
Entered in on the water as well as the sewer. And the report gives us a lot of options in the various tables. In the water, it goes all the way through 11B and stuff like that. Gives you the dynamics of all of our capital improvement program as well as our operation and the rate structure that supports that. Now, built into the rate study is the fact that it recognizes that the rates have to increase to support the capital improvements that are anticipated to complete some of the pellet plants and the new wells and stuff like that. It became apparent through examining our rate structures that the basic rate, we applied a 3% or 2.75% to it, and it was adequate. When we get down into the tiered rate, because of the San Juan Capistrano court ruling, the Bartlett Wells Associate recommended that that tier rate, or we call it a variable rate, be eliminated and be replaced by a uniform user rate. And that user rate, they applied a $5.64 per 1,000-gallon rate. So how our water rates are determined is that the base rate is the standard rate, pays for the infrastructure of the wells and the pipes and the reservoir, and the user rates are for the pumping, electricity, and everything. And that user rate has to generate with the base rate necessary revenues for the not only the operation and the capital improvement, but the debt service of our COP loan. And that is still got 29 years to go of life, and it runs about $775,000 a year for both sewer and water. We divided it on a 55 and 45 basis. So in the analysis there, the report has a lot of tables and recommendations. The one that I wanted you to take a look at is really 11A, where it calls for a 3% maximum rate adjustment to this there. And then the variable rate is going to be eliminated, and it's going to be replaced by a uniform standard rate of $5.64 per 1,000 gallons. What does that do to the average ratepayer? Obviously, it's going to increase, the basic rate is going to increase about $1.17 a month for the average there. But the user rate, that's the Achilles heel, because the user rate, there's a lot of people that use 3,000 gallons, and their rate is $2.05 per 1,000 gallons. And then if you use 8,000 gallons, your user rate is $5.06 per 1,000 gallons. And if you use 10,000 gallons, then you're up at $6.73. By eliminating those tiers, variable rates, and coming up with one composite rate, the people that use less are going to be paying a higher rate, and the people that are at the high end are going to be paying, they're going to increase at a lesser rate. In my handout that I give you is that in the tier 1 rate, we compared that to 3,000 gallons, it's going to be about a 20% increase. At the 10,000 rate, it's only going to be about 13.8%. So those are the hard facts of the rate study. Now tonight, you're here to approve the rate study, but you can, when you get into your hearing, you send the notices out, you can approve any combination that you want of that, the rate, based on the community input and the protest that's going to be here. And then you'll fix that rate down there after the 45-day review period, and you hold a final public hearing. So tonight, when you look at the reports for the sewer and water, you're looking at a document that gives you the flexibility of picking a lot of different rate structures. You can do it tonight if you want, or you can adopt this, review it, send out the notices, and then based on the community input, you need to decide what rate you're going to apply.
Are you comfortable with picking a rate tonight?
Yeah, I am.
Tony?
Just to profile there, and I know I've talked to you about the nature of what constitutes fixing the rates for any services. And obviously, operational cost, manpower, and the electricity to run it, the debt service, and then we have new capital improvement. And we know that one is the state, and tonight, you're looking at an action plan that they're going to require from us, we have to have a new well put online within the next year and a half. And that's breathing down. Otherwise, we're going to face stiff penalties. And I call it well number 4.
Yeah.
The other one is the 2008 infrastructure. We borrowed $11 million and we did a lot of improvements. And we got a new reservoir, some new water mains and everything, but we didn't finish everything. And we purchased $1 million plant that's been sitting there for 4 years, 4.5 years. And that needs to be complete so that we can get and treat our water to supply better water to the community. And hopefully maybe we can get rid of some of the water softeners, because in the end result, better quality water will prevent us from discharging into that little creek at a higher concentration. And that is the next enforcement action that you'll see tonight. This is from the Regional Water Quality Control Board, where we have to come up with a solution to prevent the discharge and eliminate that $3,000 per month fine that we're placing. So it's pulling together a lot of ends there, coupled with the fact that the San Juan Capistrano threw us a curve by saying that the tier rates are really no longer valid if you cannot support it by a detailed analysis to show how the difference between a tier 1 and tier 1, how you can provide that service to them, and how you can document the cost of that service so that it's substantially documented that that's the true cost.
Okay. So I was starting with Chris. You were.
Yeah, it's, we're as always with the water system in a pretty tough spot. The state Supreme Court has eliminated the ability of our ability to use tiered rate structure to incentivize people to use less water. We have the severe drought, which people have responded very responsibly by reducing dramatically water use in the city. However, the water and sewer are enterprise funds, so they have to pay for themselves. They, historically, the general fund is loaned, $1.8 million to the enterprise funds. That money's never been paid back. That, I think, is an agenda item to discuss later as well. So we have to cover potentially those costs. We have leftover basic infrastructure payment to PAVEX from 2008 work, as well as the bond, the 29-year bond debt service. I mean, we're on top of that, we're being fined monthly. We're in excess of $100,000 fines at this point that we've racked up because of, we've delayed infrastructure projects. I mean, we just have to do this. We're at the point where our backs are up against the wall. We're absolutely, our backs are against the wall. And I'm not the resident that's going to be hurt by this. It's the people that are on fixed incomes, and Roger and I spoke about this earlier. Potentially finding some sort of relief mechanism for those that are truly distressed. But the fact is, we've kicked the can down the road far too many times, and we're going to have to stand up and pay for this stuff. Okay. Unfortunately, it's just a fact of the matter, I think, at this point. So, yeah, I'm in favor of the proposal that Roger's made.
Tony, are you comfortable with the decision tonight?
I got to come up with a different term other than kicking the can down the road. But it's so true. Yeah. I've said this going back 20 years that we should have been raising these rates and getting them in line. And I remember years ago, this council had to forgive, I think it was $500,000 to the enterprise. The enterprise fund owned the general fund. Now we're back up there to $1.8 million that we owe. We've got to start if you want water and sewer and everything, you've got to start paying for it. That's all we can do. And we have to get these projects finished. We gotta get it, like Roger says, we have to get that new well.
Okay. Jim, are you comfortable with making a decision?
I'm comfortable with all of it, and I know you don't like to kick the can down the road. We have two problems. We have to get clean water in and dirty water out, and we have a political problem that previous city councils did not want to raise rates as they should have been because it was not a politically astute thing to do.
Yeah.
And I'm as guilty as anyone else. I didn't scream, I didn't holler, I didn't stand up and say, God damn it, raise my rates, you know it's the right thing to do. I didn't do that. And I wouldn't do that. But we now find ourselves back in the corner where we have to solve both the technical problem of getting clean water in and dirty water out, and the political problem that we have faced these are hard decisions. It's going to cost people a lot of money. And people on fixed income, I hope we can figure out a way to make special cases for that.
I actually, when me and Roger were talking about that, we were looking at retired people that have a limited income that have to qualify. We're going to set a max amount.
Yeah.
Somebody who's retired who's bringing in $105,000 or $120,000 a year, I'm sorry, but they're not going to qualify for a rate reduction just because they're over 62. Okay, we're talking about people that are probably, anywhere from the $1,500 to $3,500 range.
And I'd really like to see that, and I think that's important for maintaining the character of our town till we do something like that. And I fully don't expect anyone to look in my garage and give me a discount. Or yours, Tony.
Yeah, right. Well, I was talking to a lady the other day that I couldn't believe it. Her gross income is $1,500 a month. How in the world she manages to stay in her home, pay the taxes and the water and the sewer bill?
What would I do with all that extra money?
Yeah. But I mean, I have to agree that we should figure out something. It's just fair.
I think the solution here is that you're sensitive to those needs, that you can tailor a program that reflect that, but you also have to make the hard choices to say, like, this has to be done.
It has to be done.
So, Rick, are you comfortable with making a decision, or do you need more time? Or?
No.
Okay. All right.
Did I talk too long?
Huh?
I said, did I talk too long?
Had to catch up.
So you're really being verbal tonight.
I promised him 8 o'clock.
So you need a motion to accept Bartle and Wells rate study.
You're approving the Bartle Wells 215 water and sewer rates.
Are you making a motion?
I make a motion there.
In a second? Oh, it's a resolution?
It's a resolution.
And it will be
34, yeah.
Okay. So you made the motion to. Okay. And we have a second?
Yeah.
Jim West, and all in favor?
Aye.
Roll call vote?
Okay, Councilmember West?
Yes.
Councilmember Bach?
Yes.
Councilmember Martirana?
Aye.
Vice Mayor Edge?
Aye.
Mayor Lund?
Aye.
All members of the council being present, the motion is stated by the maker passes unanimously.
Yeah, so, Tony, the can is still sitting here.
Anybody sign it when it was going down? We'll move to item B, consider employment contract amendment for the city manager.
I can leave now.
If you can get that ball and chain off, good luck.
I'm sorry, could I interrupt for just a moment? Just for the public, the action item 5A, we didn't take public comment because there are no members of the public in the room. So
yeah, we didn't have any.
That just
for the record,
procedural, in case anybody wants to has any difficulty with that.
Yeah, there was no speaker cards.
Well,
yeah.
That's interesting.
I think you were waiting for one, huh?
No,
I'm sorry.
Okay, so we back to B.
That's all right then, because each year after the budget is there, I operate on a yearly contract, and I just bring this forward to you each year so that you can ratify it or you can not approve it.
Are you on a month-to-month if we just have an early consideration?
It reminds me when I got when they terminated Joe Talbot, and they told me the night of the council meeting, you run the thing until we decide what we're going to do. 10 years later, on a month-to-month basis, I'm still there.
So how do,
Well, based on these recitals and everything, I see absolutely no problem with extending his contract.
so should we have a motion?
Well, how about, is there a raise
Yeah.
involved in this anywhere?
Yeah, type of water. It's calculated there, as I've been here now 4 years, and it amounts to about 3.75%.
Whoa. You could work at Granite Rock.
I would go for 3.69.
That says 5750?
Do we, so what's the process here?
Do we make a motion to approve that?
There is a
For the
resolution.
Yeah.
Oh, it
we
is a
have to
resolution?
And what's the number for that resolution?
Oh, sorry,
35.
There it is.
I make the motion of the Council of the City of San Juan Bautista approving an agreement between the city and Roger A. Grimsley for manager and city engineer services.
Seconds.
All in favor?
Aye.
Roll call vote?
Councilmember West?
Yes.
Councilmember Box?
Yes.
Councilmember Mortrona?
Aye.
Vice Mayor Edge?
Aye.
Mayor Lund?
Aye.
All members of the council being present, the motion is stated by the maker passes unanimously.
All right, moving along.
So you're locked in for another 10 years, is that?
Yeah, 10 years.
10 years.
At least
All
one.
right. We go to C, consider accepting conditional resolution and settlement agreement with the State Water Resource Control Board. Staff?
The purpose of this is just to bring it there. We were fortunate that Deborah got us an extension because it gave us a short time frame to answer this thing. This thing's been going on clear back into the 208 period. And as you recall, some of the members on the council, when you approved the reclamation a project that we did 2 years ago, and that was when we finished the purple line, connected it so we can provide reclaimed water to the Lux Library, the Valley Vista subdivision, the Lux Library, the Abbey Park, and so we have that as well as the cemetery. So we have that provision now of now providing reclaimed water to those 4 sites and stuff. What's at issue here now is that we're still discharging into the creeks. That they encourage us to do this, but all the time they didn't tell us that, oh, well, you have to adhere to the monitoring well installation and testing requirements. And it's a little bit stifling and very expensive. And for a little town of 1,930 people and the amount of 200,000 gallons, not even that, 150,000 gallons a day, is the cost of that is astronomical per gallon of doing that. It's a different story for a big city like Hollister or Ridgemark or Gilroy, where they run millions of gallons through, and it's the same standard, you know. And so we've applied to the regional board to have them reduce the requirements and be a little bit more reasonable in that application. If they deny us, then we're going to have to put the bill. And here, then you're talking about spending $35,000 to $40,000 a year just to test to use reclaimed water. And so the ratio is not there. The cost to us to test it exceeds the cost to me to endure a fine.
Yeah.
So what's the motive? And I laid that
Exactly.
down to the regional
3,000 versus 5,000.
Yeah, and I said, wait a minute, why would I want to spend that much money to save $30,000? I mean, $36,000 a year.
I just got one question on that.
Yeah,
Is
doesn't make sense.
Once we have like our purple line and everything inside, are we still under the same reduction amount, or can we just use that water?
No, it's
like
already been
parks?
used, yeah, so
It's already been used, so it's already it doesn't hold any standards.
The trouble is that you can't use it because they want you to test it to make sure that it doesn't have any.
But this is after the fact.
But yeah, it will further reduce the city's use of water, or the system use of water, because it'll be replacing fresh water.
We would be
Exactly.
using
I mean,
less.
can we get our lawns green and the library
We would be using
green
less
again?
potable water, and we
Yeah.
would have to be pumping less, and we could use that, yeah. So it's a good conservation message, but somewhere along the line, it just doesn't balance out. You know?
Yeah.
Can we sell that water?
I haven't really thought about that.
Well, remember we did talk to, he's got the property out there by Prescott Road and that, but we'd have to get a pipeline out through him. Now, whether he would probably put the pipeline in if we gave him the water for nothing, you know.
But you're still discharging the wastewater.
Yeah.
It probably still is subject to the testing.
Yeah, and if he uses it, he's gonna have to do the same test.
Yeah.
So,
And that's the,
Yeah.
it's hard to predict, you know, because,
So we need them to come up with something.
Yeah, some kind of
That'll be,
scale down
we'll have our
testing.
direction after that.
yeah.
well, is there?
So we've got some additional time, and we'll be framing there, I talked with Lloyd Graceful, we'll be framing our response to this compliance, and hopefully we can get some regress from, you know.
Is there any chance of like our state representative or senator or whatever talking to him and saying, hey, or is that just,
No, I think we could probably approach Senator Maleo and Senator Clark, you know? We would.
say, you know, I mean, it's
Seems
like
like
you
it would be
say,
of value.
you know, if they want
Yeah. Then they gotta come out against testing treated water. That's politically,
Well-
it's not an easy thing to do.
And we're not adverse to testing it, we just like to have them reduce it to where it's a little bit more pragmatical and affordable to our situation.
if they just let us test it where we're pumping it, you know, into the lines right at the beginning, be simple.
Yeah,
Yeah, what can happen from there to the end of the valve? Okay, so what's our action we need to take?
It's just informational, and you know,
Okay.
not take any action because I'll be coming up with a response, and I'll get back to you after our next meeting so we can respond to it.
Okay,
The
move
reason-
along to
the reason- and the reason that we asked for the extension is that it gave us to the end of the month here.
Yeah.
Okay.
And we just couldn't meet that deadline, 30 days.
You know, Roger, I saw in there somewhere something about $10,000 for violation and all this other stuff. So what do they do in a case like that? What do they do, bankrupt the city? And I mean,
Yeah, I guess.
Okay.
it's,
All right, we'll move along. Item D, consider approving action plan and compliance schedule for improvements to water system with the State Water Resources Control Board Drinking Water Division.
This goes back to our nitrate problem and the water division of the State Water Resources, and that's Jen Schweiker. She's been very cooperative to work with and everything, but her hands are tied to say, hey, we've got to come up with an action plan to get a new well for dependable potable water. And we're taking action on that, and we're doing it. But the action plan that we filed with them, it's taken a little bit longer in this day and age to get a well driller. You have to pull some arm because they're so busy.
Yeah.
And so our time frame has slipped past, and that's why she says, hey, you're not in compliance with the original thing. And so she says, submit it. She's working with us to say, submit a new plan that's reasonable, and it can go all the way to 217. And working that, and I'll bring that back to you, and then we'll file that action plan to them that'll give us a little bit more breathing room. I think by next year we'll have that well more online, tested in the way we go. And then hopefully if everything pulls together, we'll be into this pellet plant and starting to construct that. So,
That'd be great.
and I think I want to frame that into the time frame also.
What is the schedule for Majority Brothers now?
They were supposed to be in it last week, and I called them again, and I said that they can't get their trucks out of the San Joaquin Valley. So tied up there.
Jim,
But
can
he
you handle that?
Promised me that he could get one here next week.
Well, not only are they drilling more wells, they're drilling them deeper, so it takes a lot longer to drill a well now.
But
They're
they
in the
should
money.
be on site next week?
That'd be great. Get that finished up. Okay, so we'll move on to item 6, discussion items. Continued discussion on a interfund transfer from enterprise funds to the general fund.
And I'm sure you didn't bring all your reports that I had last time, so I just wanted to pass them around here and see if that's the same report that we had back in May, just to refresh yourself,
This was a plan to repay?
Yes.
And that goes back to, and I heard we talked about all the plans A, B, C, and D. And the last that I heard is that we said this is if we are able to sell, we get squared away with our sewer rates, we sell our bonds, we say we're not adverse to repaying back the full amount. And that's something that you guys are going to struggle with. I told the bondholders, and we're having another conference call, maybe that if you guys didn't want to take any actions until after you receive the perspective and the bids on the bonds. And I will approach you.
Well, I mean, this refreshes my memory, and I like that Plan A, the first one, 1%. Because if everything works out with the money we're going to save on the bonds and everything like that, we'll easily be able to make this payment. But I can't see penalizing ourselves with, I mean, we're taking it out of this pocket and putting it over in this pocket. Why should we be paying 3.5% interest on that type of
The
thing?
sad part about it is the IRS.
Require.
The IRS will dictate to you that. It has to be reasonable, and if the standard lending institution charges 5%, you can't charge 1%. You've got to be somewhere 2 or 2.5. You got to be in that ballpark, something like that. So they're working with you. They're saying this just like you give a loan to your son and say, "Oh, pay me 0.5%." You can't do it.
Okay, well, we're going to be borrowing money at 3 3/4%.
Almost to 4 by the time we... It'll probably almost be to 4 by the time we...
Well, if things keep going the way they did today, it's going to be probably lower than that, but I don't know. But, so if we went with 3%?
We have to charge percent?
It's just...
Yes. The IRS says you have to charge interest.
Yeah.
So I would suggest that we implement Plan A with the lowest acceptable interest rate possible.
It'll probably be somewhere right around 2% because the banks are offering 3.5 instead of 5.
Okay, but the only thing that I've said before about this is we're going to pay this off, but we're cutting up your credit cards. No more of this, These funds have to support themselves.
Yeah.
And
well, I think the action that you've taken tonight the hard choices
Yeah.
we're going to make there will set the course that the enterprise will be self-sustaining
Yeah.
and sustainable over the long haul.
So the general fund will be making the percentage.
That's true, yeah, really.
You know, the general fund is going to be making the percentage on the money. I mean, it's, I don't know why, it just sounds crazy to me, but it's still, you know, we're charging
Right.
ourselves interest.
Well, and
It feels that
here's
way.
the thing, Robert, the money was taken from the general fund, so we had to defund projects like paving and whatever else may have.
Right.
We've deferred those projects because we've taken money out of the general fund to support the enterprise funds. Now we'll have the ability to catch up with some of that stuff. This, I mean, this could fund a sheriff's deputy potentially at you know, $6,000 or $7,000 a month. We can use it for paving projects. We can use it for security, fire, whatever we need to.
And Chris is right on, is that critical things is public safety, as well as safe walking of children to school. And there's a lot of blacked up sidewalks.
Yeah.
I have a question. Plan A looks good to me, but what's the difference between Plan A and Plan H?
That's what I was.
Both retire the debt in 29 years. There's no forgiveness, and yet we have a lower payment with H, which frees up more money. Or does it?
This is where I was taking that $92,000 from paybacks and applying, when we pay that off, applying that for the first 3 years of the payment and reducing it.
Oh.
It's a combination of using that bond money that I saved. It's going to be about $326,000, and then get that down, and then we just finance the balance.
But we're going to save that paybacks money someplace else with the refi of the bonds, the CLP. Okay, yeah. So Plan A sounds
I think
good
I'd
to
rather
me.
smooth it over have it be a more stable amount personally, but I don't feel strongly about it.
So I just don't want to see the enterprise, you know, come in jeopardy. I mean, we need a lot of money for the enterprise, especially with that pellet softener plant and wells and the pipes that are going to burst this year on that part. You know, I'd like to make that as strong as possible. On Plan J, it said take 50% of the impact fees of 7 connections per year. Are we going to get 7 connections a year? It's hard to say.
Our total impact fees were based on 6.8 homes a year. And that represents about a 1.3% growth rate. The city has adopted a 3% growth rate. And when we did the impact fees, we were very conservative to say this is probably more realistic.
But you're saying like on...
You're restricting the way we pay it rather than leaving that money, those 7 connections still go into the enterprise fund. They still can be used to support the debt repayment. It just seems like we're making it overly complicated by doing that. By doing a simple loan, we get the most flexibility and the relatively clean.
We're making a $2 million decision right now.
We are. That's right.
Well, it's...
And again, we're not asking for a decision tonight. These are just ideas and discussions. And we really think that decision is upon accepting the bids for the bonds, and then that'll tell us exactly our financial situation going forward for the next 29 years.
Right. Then we have stability and predictability.
And continuity.
We all want to be the council that fixed it.
Well, when you look at the numbers, we can, or the enterprise funds can afford to make these payments. And then whoever the council is at the time, if you 3 or 4 years into this, you got another $400,000 in the general plan, or in the general fund. Hey, you want to do something with it? There's no restriction that you couldn't use that money to put a water line in.
Exactly.
You know? It doesn't have to come out of the enterprise fund. So, you know, I'm the type of guy that I pay my credit card bill off every month, and
At this point in life.
At this point in life. Now, if you're a little younger.
But I want the city to do the same thing, basically. That's my take.
Is this, is it detrimental that, you know, do we table it, or do we pick a plan and go for it, or is it just a discussion item for that? Okay. Okay. So you want to move on?
Yeah,
sure. Okay. Consider to establish a capital recovery reserve program.
Again, I know you guys didn't bring your report for June. I didn't pass that around. And I identified, you remember, the capital improvements.
Yeah.
In this year's budget, we've selected 7 of them.
Yeah.
And we put that away. It was $56,000. What I did was that I took every one of those items that's on that list, and on the 3rd page and 4th and 5th, you'll see I've just identified. And again, your inputs are just as important as mine. I've identified needs of the community center, the city hall, and then I amortize those to show you that if you chose those, you should be setting aside in that right-hand column every year those dollar amounts. Then you have a program to where you can fix this roof, or you can do things. Community center, and it just, these are ideas. By no means am I saying that this is cast in stone. The more I get your input, the better off it.
I seriously doubt if you missed anything.
No, and what it is that what I'm really trying to set the table for is that if you ultimately down the line, if you approve this is going to give your continuity for the future councilman and the future representative of the city, so that you're on a course where now we're pushing aside money to handle these things down the line.
So we're making the next guy's job easier.
They'll probably be out by 7. We'll have to come back to the meetings and ask them difficult questions just to make them pay for it.
You know, Roger, in looking through this, should we be setting aside money for streets and water lines and sewer lines? Or do we want to leave that in the enterprise?
I got the water and the sewer lines and the water lines are in the capital improvement programs of this enterprise accounts.
Right.
The streets are something that you have to go into the yes tax, the RSPT funds, as well as the general funds. Okay. That's a whole other program that I have on the back burner.
Oh.
Okay.
Some of these things,
it's a more, those funds are more complicated than
right. Yeah, where the money's going to come
gas
from.
tax,
Yeah.
you know.
Okay.
some of these things can be funded out of the enterprise funds, can't they?
Oh, yes. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely.
Okay. Yeah.
But a lot of it is,
Looks good.
Yeah.
I guess he left, but we're going to get a bunch of money for parks and stuff out of the new subdivisions. So, but yeah, this is, well, when Roger and I were talking about this is the first time that the city council has ever set anything like this up. It's always been, oh, we need a new roof, so let's find, you know, and this way, like we were talking 20 years from now, they can look at this and say, oh, we need a new roof on the community center. and the money's there.
It's the money.
You know, but if you just kick the can down the road.
So, if we do this and it's all allocated to what we have listed there, and for the monies there, is there any way we can lock it in that so future people can't, go into it and dissolve it? No? Okay.
Unless if you want to put it out for a vote, then the only way it can be changed is by a vote initially. But I mean, you can pass a law, but they can modify them in the future.
Basically, what we're doing now is establishing a policy and hope that the future
councils,
generations.
And any policy that works good and is functional, they're more inclined to continue with it because it's working.
Yeah.
All right. So where do we, okay.
Yeah.
So we'll bring it back to the next meeting and
It feels like we're ready to codify this.
Yeah.
All right. Okay, we'll go. Any comments?
Comments, sure. The San Juan Committee has opened a visitor center at the bakery. They're open Friday, Saturday, Sunday. They're staffed Friday, Saturday, Sunday from noon to 4 with volunteers, community volunteers. The committee pulled that together really quickly and have done a fabulous job getting it started up and rolling. The Chamber of Commerce, County Chamber of Commerce is also providing some support for that. I'm just excited to see that come back. And they were able to secure a corner in the bakery, which is, aside from the grocery store, probably open the most hours here in town. So it has the best accessibility. Oh, Mom and Pop, there you go. So, yeah, that's all I have.
Jim West made that comment for the record. How about you, Tony?
The only thing, I don't know if we want to do it. If you guys think that possibly we should establish our own fire committee. It seems like there's still, even with the explanation we got last Monday
us and them
and everything, I don't know.
Rachel
We just want to let it go, or
Rachel Pronsi brought up a lot, that a lot of truth in what she said.
So, give it some thought, and if you want to, I don't want to be in the fire committee because I don't know anything about fires except like Jim says.
That's why
we had a fire, we put it out,
that's why
and
it'd be
nobody
perfect
died.
for you.
Well, whenever they get the contract to us, that would be a good time to take a look at these things.
This isn't a discussion item. It's really just comments.
We're just
think we should.
Yeah.
This is all comment. Like we have a draft. We just haven't. I'm being a little tougher on it.
Well, until it comes to us,
the can ain't rolling.
Can't really talk about it, because we don't know what they're going to propose or ask for.
No comment for me, Jim.
With the help of members of this board, I bought a decibel meter. I am collecting decibel levels from surrounding communities to see what is an acceptable decibel level. I have no problem with music, no problem with making the money, but there needs to be some link of control to the disc jockey who's controlling the sound, and that's all I want. I don't want to put anyone out of business. I don't want to hurt anyone's ability to make money. There just has to be a reasonable level.
Hearing loss begins at 85.
Is that right? Oh, I got 4 years.
But you could have gotten an app for your smartphone.
Trying to make some money here.
But you have to have it calibrated, right?
Yeah, you have to calibrate it. We got a guy comes to the quarry and calibrates ours all the time.
Oh,
Rick?
I already said what I had to say.
you know what? One other thing, what I didn't mention when I was praising Lori and Tom was that they went out and bought 150 flags for the, so that we don't miss Memorial Day again. And there were no flags on Memorial Day. So,
The VFW used to do that.
I don't know what the problem is and why they didn't do it. It used to be the Boy Scouts would go out and do it.
All right.
All right.
Yep.
Motion to adjourn.
So moved. Second, whatever.